20 minutes had passed since James secured Princess Catherine and Prince Thomas in the safe room. His radio remained silent, except for occasional status updates. The ballroom had been evacuated. The suspicious server was in custody,
Palace
but something still
under
felt
1,000
wrong.
crystal lights.
James checked his watch.
Ladies in silk
Protocol
gowns
required
glided
the
across
family to
marble
remain
floors,
separated for at
while
least
gentlemen
1
in
hour
tailored suits
during a
exchanged
cold silver
polite
situation.
conversation.
That meant
But
Prince
Royal
Thomas
Guard
would
James
be away from
Morrison
his father
wasn't
for
watching
another
the
40
dancers.
minutes.
His
The little
eyes
prince
stayed
had finally
fixed on
stopped
one
crying,
person, Prince
but
Edward,
James could hear him
heir to
asking
the throne.
questions through the thick door.
James had
"When
served
can I
the
see
royal
Daddy?
family for
Is
7
Daddy
years.
okay?"
He knew
Catherine's
every
gentle
corner of the
voice
palace,
answered,
every
"Soon,
exit,
my love.
every
Very
potential
soon.
danger.
Daddy is
Tonight
making sure
felt
everyone is
different.
safe."
Something in the
Footsteps
air
echoed
made his
down the marble
instincts scream.
corridor. James
Prince
tensed,
Edward stood near
his
the
hand
eastern
moving to
windows.
his weapon.
His
But it was
young
only
wife,
Guard
Princess
Patterson,
Catherine,
a
beside him.
young officer
In
who
her
joined the
arms,
Royal
their
Security Team
3-year-old
6 months
son,
ago.
Prince
Morrison,
Thomas, dozed
Captain
peacefully
Reynolds
against
wants
her
you in
shoulder.
command center.
The little
I'll take
prince
over here.
wore a miniature suit
James
that matched
hesitated.
his father's.
He didn't like
and
leaving
his
his
golden
post,
curls caught the
especially
chandelier
with Queen
light.
Consort
Guard
Margaret's earlier
Morrison,
behavior.
a voice
But
called.
orders were
James
orders.
turned to see Captain
No one
Reynolds
enters this
approaching.
room except Prince
Everything
Edward
secure?
himself.
Yes, sir.
Understand?
But I
Patterson
recommend
nodded
we
firmly.
keep the family
Yes,
near
sir.
the center exits.
No one.
The crowd
James
is
made
larger
his
than
way through the
expected.
palace's hidden
Reynolds
corridors.
nodded.
These passages
thinking.
existed for
The
exactly
king
this reason.
and queen
To
consort
move security
will arrive
personnel without
shortly.
being seen by guests
Stay
or
alert.
staff.
As the
The
captain
walls were
walked
plain
away,
stone,
James
lit by
noticed
simple
something
electric
odd.
lights.
A
So
server near the
different from the
refreshment
golden
table
luxury of
kept
the main
glancing
palace.
at Prince Edward.
The command
The
center
man's
was a
hands
modern room
trembled as he
filled with
poured
computer
champagne.
screens and
His
communication
eyes
equipment.
darted nervously
Captain
around
Reynolds
the room.
stood before a wall
James
of
moved
monitors
closer,
showing various
his hand
palace
instinctively
locations.
touching his
Prince
radio.
Edward was there too.
That's when he
his
saw
jacket
it.
removed,
The server's
his
left
face
hand
serious.
formed a subtle
Guard
signal.
Morrison.
3
Prince
fingers
said,
tapped against his
"Thank
leg.
you for your quick response
Once,
tonight.
twice.
Just doing my
James's blood
duty, Your
ran
Highness."
cold. That
Reynolds
was the
pointed
emergency
to one of the
extraction
screens.
code.
The
Before
server
he could
noticed.
react,
His
Prince
name
Edward
is
caught
Marcus
his
Webb.
eye across
He's
the
been
crowded
working in
room.
the palace for
The
3
prince's
weeks.
expression remained
All his
calm,
background checks
but
were
his
perfect.
right hand moved
Too
to his
perfect.
jacket pocket.
What do you
He
mean,
withdrew
sir?
a handkerchief
We dug
and dabbed
deeper.
his forehead.
Marcus Webb
A normal
is a
gesture
false
to
identity.
anyone watching.
We don't know who this
But
man
James
really
had
is yet.
trained for this
But we
exact
found
moment.
this in his jacket.
The handkerchief touched
Reynolds
the
held up a
prince's
small
left temple
photograph.
first.
James
his right.
leaned closer.
The classified
Image
signal,
showed Princess
immediate
Catherine
threat.
leaving the palace
Get
with
my
Prince
family
Thomas.
out.
Someone
Now,
had drawn a red
James's
circle
training
around
kicked
the
in
child.
instantly.
James's
He spoke
stomach
into
dropped.
his radio.
This wasn't
voice
just a
low
general
and
threat.
steady.
They were targeting
Code
Prince
silver.
Thomas.
Repeat.
Prince
Code
Edward's jaw
silver.
clenched. That's
Royal
what we
family
believe.
extraction.
And there's more.
Eastern ballroom.
We found text messages
Within
on his phone.
seconds,
He
3
wasn't
more
working
guards
alone.
appeared.
How many
blending
others?
seamlessly into the
James
crowd.
asked. We
They
don't know.
moved like shadows,
That's why we need your
positioning themselves around
Reynolds
the princess
pulled up another
and
screen.
young prince.
You've served
Your
this
Royal
family
Highness.
longer than most guards.
James approached Princess
You know
Catherine
the palace,
with a
the
respectful
staff,
bow.
the routines.
We need to
We
move
need you
you
to
and
think.
Prince Thomas
Who else
to a
might be
secure
involved?
location.
James
Please come
closed
with
his
me.
eyes, running
Catherine's
through
eyes
everyone he'd
widened
seen that
slightly,
evening.
but she
The
was
servers,
trained
the
for this too.
musicians, the
She
cleaning
adjusted
staff
her sleeping
who prepared
son
the
in her
ballroom
arms and
meeting.
nodded.
His eyes snapped
course.
open. The
What's
queen
happening?
consort's new attendant,
She whispered as
the woman
James
who
guided her
arrived last
toward a
month from
hidden door
France.
behind a
Edward
massive
frowned.
tapestry.
Vivian
Possible
Rousseau,
security
she
threat
came with
bomb.
excellent references.
Prince Edward signaled
Excellent
for immediate
references.
extraction.
Just like Marcus
Catherine's
Webb's.
grip on Prince
James
Thomas
said,
tightened.
and
The
tonight,
little boy stirred,
when Queen Consort
eyes
Margaret
opening
tried to reach
slowly.
Princess Catherine
Mommy?
and Prince Thomas,
She,
who was
darling.
Vivian,
We're
Reynolds
just going
began
somewhere
typing
quiet,
rapidly on his computer.
Catherine soothed.
Security
Her voice
footage
remarkably
shows
calm,
she was near
despite
the eastern
fear
corridor,
James could see in
very
her
close
eyes.
to the secure room.
As they moved through the corridor,
That corridor is restricted
James heard
during code
commotion from
silver.
the ballroom.
Edward said quietly,
Raised voices.
she shouldn't have been
The
there
sound
at
of
all.
breaking glass.
A younger
His
guard
radio
burst
crackled.
into the room.
Guard
Sirs,
Morrison,
we
we
have
have a situation.
Guard Patterson
The
isn't
Queen
responding to
Consort
radio
is
calls.
demanding to see Princess
James's
Catherine
blood
and Prince
turned
Thomas.
to ice. The
She's
safe
becoming
room.
aggressive.
Now,
James's jaw
he ran.
tightened.
Years
Queen
of training
Consort
made him fast.
Margaret, the
But the
king's
corridors
second
felt
wife,
impossibly
had
long.
never hidden her
His
dislike
radio
for
crackled.
Catherine.
All
But
units
protocol
secure
was
room
clear
beta.
during a security
Code red.
threat.
Repeat,
Only trained
code
guards
red.
made decisions
James
about the royal
reached the corridor
family's
first.
safety.
Guard
They
Patterson
reached a
lay on the
secure
floor,
room deep
unconscious
within the the
but
palace.
breathing. The
James
safe room
ushered
door
Catherine
stood
and
slightly
Thomas
open.
inside,
James
where
drew his
two
weapon
female
and
guards
pushed the
waited.
door wide.
"You'll
His
be
heart
safe
pounded.
here, Your Highness.
Princess Catherine stood
The
against the
room
far
is
wall.
fortified.
Prince
No
Thomas
one
behind
enters
her.
without proper
In
clearance."
front of them stood Vivian
"What
Russo,
about Edward?"
holding a small
Catherine
device in
asked.
her hand.
Her voice
"Don't
finally
come
showed a
closer,"
strain.
Vivian
"Prince
said in
Edward
accent
is being
English.
secured
Her
separately,
voice
Mom."
was calm, almost
Standard
friendly.
protocol.
"This
A
device
loud
sends a
banging
signal.
echoed from
If
the
I
corridor.
press it, my
"Open this
associates will
door
know the mission
immediately."
failed."
Queen
will
Consort
disappear.
Margaret's voice
You'll never
rang
find
out,
them.
sharp and
What do
demanding.
you want?
I
James
demand to
asked,
see my
his
grandson.
weapon trained on her.
Therine pulled
What I want
Thomas
doesn't
closer.
matter anymore.
The little
My
prince,
employer wanted
now
a
fully
child.
awake,
For leverage,
began to cry
for
softly.
ransom. But
James
you've ruined
stepped into the
everything.
corridor,
Vivian's
closing the
hand
secure
trembled
room door
slightly.
behind him.
Now I just want to
Queen
leave.
Consort
Let
Margaret
me walk
stood
out of
there,
here,
her
and I'll
face
tell you
flushed
where to
with
find the
anger.
others.
Two of her
You know I
personal
can't do
attendants
that,
flanked her.
James said.
Your Majesty,
Catherine spoke,
James said
her
respectfully
voice
but
surprisingly
firmly.
steady.
I cannot
There are
allow
others?
anyone into
More
that
people
room
trying to
during
hurt
a
my
Code
son.
Silver situation.
Vivian laughed
Security
bitterly.
protocol.
You really
I
don't
don't
understand.
care about your protocols.
This isn't about hurting
Margaret
anyone.
snapped.
It's about
That's
power,
my family in
control.
there. Stand
Your
aside.
husband is next in
I'm
line
sorry,
for
Your
the throne.
Majesty.
Your
My
son will be
orders
king
come
one
from
day.
Prince Edward himself.
Some people will pay
No
anything to have
exceptions.
influence over
Margaret's
future
eyes
king.
blazed.
Prince Thomas
She
whimpered.
stepped forward,
Catherine
reaching
pulled
for
him
the door
closer.
handle.
The device,
James moved to
James
block
said.
her path.
Put it down.
Ma'am,
Whatever your
please
employer
step back.
promised you.
How
It's
dare
not
you?
worth spending your
I
life
am
in
the
prison.
queen consort of this
Prison?
realm. You
Vivian
forget your
shook her
place,
head.
guard.
You think prison
My
is the worst
place,
that can happen?
James said
You don't know
quietly,
who I work for.
is protecting the
If
royal
I
family.
fail,
That
prison will be a
includes
blessing.
protecting them from any
Behind
threat
James,
regardless of who
more
poses
footsteps
it.
approached.
The corridor
Captain
fell
Reynolds
silent,
and 4
except for
other
the
guards
distant
arrived,
sounds of the ballroom
weapons drawn.
evacuation.
Vivian
Margaret
glanced
stared
at
at James,
then back at James.
and for a moment,
For a
he
moment,
thought she might
her
actually try to
professional
force
mask
past
slipped.
him.
He saw
Then
fear in
Captain
her
Reynolds
eyes.
appeared,
Real,
slightly
genuine
out of breath.
fear. Please,
Your
she
Majesty,
whispered.
we've
You
secured
don't
the
understand what they'll
situation.
do to me.
If you'll
Then
please
help
come
us
with
stop
me,
them.
the king is asking
James
for
said.
you.
Tell us
Margaret's
who they are.
expression shifted.
We can protect you.
Without another
Vivian
word,
looked at Prince
she
Thomas.
turned and
The
swept
little
down the
boy
corridor,
peeked out from behind
her
his
attendants
mother.
hurrying
His
after
golden
her.
curls messy.
Reynolds looked
His
at James
eyes
and
wide
nodded,
with confusion.
once a gesture
He's
of
just
approval.
a baby.
Inside
Vivian
the
said
secure
softly.
room,
I told
Catherine
them.
held her son
I said he's
close,
too young.
whispering
But they didn't
gentle
care.
words.
Her hand
Thomas's
lowered
tears
slowly.
had stopped,
The device
but his
dropped to
small
the floor.
hands clutched his
James
mother's
moved
dress.
quickly,
Guard Morrison?
securing her hands while
Catherine
another
called
guard
softly.
retrieved the device.
James opened
Catherine
the door
immediately
slightly.
scooped up Thomas
Yes, Your
and
Highness.
rushed past him into the
Thank
corridor.
you for
Mummy,
protecting us.
why is
For
everyone
protecting
running?
him.
Thomas
James
asked.
bowed his head.
Because my darling,
It's my honor, ma'am.
some very brave people are
Always.
keeping us safe.
As he resumed his
As
position
guards led
outside
Vivian
the door,
away,
James
she called
couldn't
back to
shake the
James.
feeling that
There are
tonight had
5
changed
more.
something.
5 people
The
still
suspicious
inside
server,
the palace. And
Prince
their
Edward's
leader,
signal,
you'll never see them
Queen
coming.
Consort
They're
Margaret's
closer than you
aggressive
think.
behavior.
The corridor
Whatever
fell
threat
silent.
had emerged
Prince
tonight,
Edward appeared,
James knew one
immediately
thing with
embracing his
absolute
wife and
certainty.
son.
He would
But over their
stand between
heads, his
danger
eyes
and that
met
family
James's.
with his last
The
breath.
threat wasn't
That
over.
was his oath.
In fact,
That was his
it was
duty.
just beginning.
And tonight
somewhere in
was
the
only the
palace,
beginning.
5 more dangerous people waited. The palace went into complete lockdown. Every door was sealed. Every window was checked. Every staff member was questioned. But finding 5 hidden threats among 300 palace workers seemed impossible. James stood in the command center, studying faces on security monitors. Vivian Rousseau sat in an interrogation room 2 floors below, refusing to speak anymore. She had given them one clue. The 5 remaining threats were closer than anyone thought. Closer means what? Captain Reynolds muttered, reviewing staff files. Closer to the family? Closer to us? What does that mean? Prince Edward paced near the window. Princess Catherine and Prince Thomas had been moved to the most secure wing of the palace, the royal quarters where the king himself lived. 20 guards surrounded them now. But Edward looked restless, worried. Your Highness, you should rest, James suggested. We have everything under control. Do we? Edward turned sharply. 5 dangerous people are in my home. Guard Morrison. My son is in danger. My wife is terrified. And we don't even know who to look for. A young tech officer called out from her computer. Sir, I found something. Vivian Rousseau made 17 phone calls in the last week. Most were to normal numbers, shops, restaurants. But 3 calls went to a blocked number. Each call lasted exactly 30 seconds. Can you trace it? Reynolds asked. I'm trying, but whoever set this up knew what they were doing. The signal bounces through 6 different countries. James thought hard. 30-second calls. That was just enough time to confirm a plan or give a quick update. What times were the calls made? The tech officer checked. Monday at midnight, Wednesday at midnight, and last night at midnight. A pattern, James said. They were reporting progress. And if the pattern continues. The next call will be tonight at midnight, Reynolds finished. That's in 2 hours. Edward stepped forward. Can we use that? If Vivian was supposed to call tonight and she doesn't, what happens? The others will know something went wrong. James said they might panic, make mistakes, or they might accelerate their plan. Reynolds countered. Attack before we're ready. A guard rushed into the room. Captain, we have a situation. Queen Consort Margaret is demanding to see Prince Thomas. She's at the royal quarters now, and she's refusing to leave. Edward's face darkened. Not again. Why is she so insistent on seeing Thomas tonight? Maybe she's just worried, the guard suggested. She is his step-grandmother. But James remembered Vivian's words. They're closer than you think. Could she have meant, Your Highness? James said carefully, when did Queen Consort Margaret join the royal family? She married my father 2 years ago. Why? And where did she come from before that? Edward frowned. She was a diplomat, worked in France for many years. She spoke perfect French, moved in high society circles. James and Reynolds locked eyes. France, just like Vivian Rousseau. It could be a coincidence, Reynolds said, but his hand moved to his weapon. Or it could be exactly what Vivian meant. James replied, We need to check the Queen Consort's background. Thoroughly. That's treason talk, the young guard whispered, horrified. She's the Queen Consort. She's married to the king. And 2 years ago, nobody knew who she was. James said, perfect references. Perfect background. Just like Marcus Webb. Just like Vivian. Edward pulled out his phone. I'm calling my father. Wait, Reynolds said. If the Queen Consort is involved, we can't let her know we suspect her. Not yet. We need proof. The tech officer spoke up again. I can access her phone records. Give me 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes felt like hours. James watched the security monitors showing the royal quarters. Queen Consort Margaret stood outside the main door, her face tight with anger. 6 guards blocked her path. She argued with them, her gestures becoming more aggressive. Why is she so desperate to get in there? Edward wondered aloud. Got it, the tech officer exclaimed. Queen Consort Margaret's phone. She made calls to the same block number, for calls in the last month, each exactly 30 seconds. The room went silent. This can't be real, the young guard breathed. The Queen Consort? Working with criminals. Reynolds was already moving. We need to arrest her. Now, before she realizes we know. Wait, James said. She mentioned 5 people still in the palace. If Margaret is one of them, who are the other 4? Edward's face went pale. Her personal attendants. She brought them when she married my father. 2 bodyguards, 1 secretary, and 1 lady-in-waiting. They're always with her. And tonight, James asked, they're all at the royal quarters with her. James grabbed his radio. All units near the royal quarters. This is Guard Morrison. Detain Queen Consort Margaret and her 4 attendants immediately. Code Black. Repeat, Code Black. Code Black meant treason. The highest alert. On the security monitor, they watched as guards surrounded Margaret. She fought back, screaming in French. Her attendants drew weapons, actual guns inside the palace. No, Edward shouted. Guards tackled the attendants. Shots fired. On the monitor, James saw 2 guards fall. But more guards arrived, overwhelming the attackers. James ran. He had to get to Catherine and Thomas. The royal quarters had become a battlefield. He burst through 3 security doors, his clearance codes getting him past each one. Ahead, he heard more gunshots. Shouting. The sound of breaking glass. Then, silence. James rounded the final corner. 6 guards lay on the floor, groaning in pain but alive. Queen Consort Margaret knelt on the ground, her hands bound behind her back. Her 4 attendants were similarly restrained. But the door to Catherine and Thomas's room stood open. James's heart stopped. He rushed inside. Princess Catherine sat on the floor, holding Prince Thomas tightly. Both were unharmed. A female guard stood protectively in front of them, her weapon drawn. We're okay, Catherine said, tears streaming down her face. We're okay. Prince Thomas looked up at James. The bad people tried to take me, but the guards are heroes, like in my storybooks. James knelt down to the boy's level. Yes, Your Highness. The guards are heroes. And so is your mother. Edward appeared in the doorway, breathless. He ran to his family, pulling them both into his arms. In the corridor, Captain Reynolds read Margaret her rights. She smiled coldly. You think catching us solves anything? This is bigger than you know. Bigger than your little palace. You've won nothing. We'll see about that, Reynolds said, as guards led the conspirators away. James stood watch outside the room where the royal family embraced. His legs ached. His heart still pounded. But they had done it. The immediate threat was over. But Margaret's words echoed in James's mind. This is bigger than you know. What did that mean? Morning sunlight streamed through the palace windows. James Morrison hadn't slept all night. Neither had most of the security team. They had spent hours questioning Margaret and her 4 attendants, but none of them would talk anymore. Prince Thomas finally slept peacefully in his mother's arms. Princess Catherine looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. Prince Edward sat beside them, holding his wife's hand. When can we leave this room? Catherine asked quietly. Thomas needs fresh air. He needs to play. This isn't good for him. Soon, Edward promised. As soon as we're certain it's safe. But James wasn't certain at all. Margaret's words haunted him. This is bigger than you know. What if there were more conspirators? What if the real threat was still out there? Captain Reynolds entered the room, his expression grim. Your Highness, we need to talk. In private. Edward looked at Catherine. She nodded. Go. I'll stay with Thomas. In the corridor, Reynolds showed Edward and James a tablet computer. We searched Margaret's private chambers. Found this hidden behind a painting. It's encrypted, but our tech team broke the code an hour ago. James looked at the screen. It showed bank transfers. Millions of dollars moving between accounts in different countries. Names he didn't recognize. Dates going back 5 years. What is this? Edward asked. A network, Reynolds explained. Margaret wasn't just trying to kidnap Prince Thomas for ransom. She was part of something much larger. An organization that infiltrates royal families, governments, wealthy families. They get close to power, then they control it from the inside. James felt sick. How many families? At least 12 that we can identify. In 6 different countries. They marry into families, get hired as advisors, become trusted friends. Then they wait for the right moment. Edward leaned against the wall, his face pale. My father. Does he know? We told him an hour ago. He's not well. The doctors are with him now. I need to see him. Your Highness, we don't think that's wise. Not yet. We're still verifying everyone in the palace. Until we're absolutely certain who we can trust. He's my father. Edward's voice rose. He just discovered his wife of 2 years tried to kidnap his grandson. He needs his family. Reynolds nodded slowly. I'll arrange an escort. But James comes with you. And 6 of the guards I trust completely. 10 minutes later, they walked through the palace toward the king's private wing. James led the way, his eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. 2 guards walked ahead, 2 behind, and 2 on each side. They took no chances. The king's chambers were in the oldest part of the palace. Heavy wooden doors, stone walls, tapestries that were hundreds of years old. It felt like stepping back in time. King George sat in a chair by the window, staring out at the palace gardens. He looked older than James remembered, smaller somehow. Father, Edward said softly. The king turned. His eyes were red. Edward, thank God you're safe. And Catherine? Thomas. They're safe, thanks to Guard Morrison and his team. King George looked at James. You protected my family. I'm in your debt. Just doing my duty, Your Majesty. The king stood slowly, walking to a cabinet. He pulled out a folder. I need to show you something. I should have shown you months ago, but I was ashamed. I was a fool. He handed the folder to Edward. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to King George, all warning him about Margaret. These arrived over the past year, the king explained. Anonymous letters claiming Margaret was dangerous, that she was using me. I thought they were from jealous people who didn't want to see me happy again after your mother died. Edward read one of the letters aloud. Your Majesty, the woman you plan to marry is not who she claims to be. Her past in France is fabricated. She works for an organization that destroys royal families. Please investigate before it's too late. Who sent these? James asked. We don't know. They had no return address. No signature. Reynolds took the letters, examining them carefully. The handwriting changes between letters. Different people wrote them, but they all knew the truth about Margaret. Someone was trying to warn us, Edward said. Someone who knew what was happening but couldn't come forward directly. A guard knocked on the door. Captain Reynolds, urgent message from the tech team. Reynolds stepped outside. James could hear him talking in low tones. When he returned, his face was even more serious. We traced more of Margaret's communications. She was in contact with someone inside the palace. Someone who's still here. Someone she was reporting to. The room went cold. What do you mean, reporting to? King George asked. I thought Margaret was a leader. No, Your Majesty. Margaret was middle management. Someone higher up was giving her orders, and that person is still in the palace right now. James's hand moved to his weapon. Who? We don't know yet. The messages were coded, but the last message Margaret sent was yesterday morning. She wrote, The Eagle is nervous. Suspect something. May need to move the timeline forward. The Eagle, Edward repeated. That's a code name? It has to be. Someone Margaret was afraid of. Someone with enough power to make her nervous. King George sank back into his chair. How did I let this happen? How did I bring these people into our home? It's not your fault, Father. They're professionals. This is what they do. James thought hard. Margaret was afraid of someone called the Eagle. Someone who was still in the palace. Someone with power and access. A horrible thought struck him. Captain, who has the highest security clearance in the palace. Who can go anywhere, see anything, access all the security systems. Reynolds's eyes widened. No, it can't be. Who? Edward demanded. The head of palace security, Lord Richard Pemberton. He's been with the royal family for 15 years. He's trusted by everyone. An alarm blared throughout the palace. Red lights flashed. James's radio crackled with panicked voices. Breach in the royal quarters. Someone's trying to access Princess Catherine's room. That's impossible, Reynolds said. We changed all the codes. Only 5 people have access now. Who are those 5 people? James asked, though he already knew the answer. You, me, Prince Edward the King, and Lord Pemberton. They ran. Edward was fastest, fear for his wife and son giving him speed. James was right behind him, his heart pounding. They reached the royal quarters to find complete chaos. Guards shouted into radios. Alarms wailed, and the door to Catherine's room stood wide open. James burst inside, weapon drawn. The room was empty. Princess Catherine was gone. Prince Thomas was gone. And on the floor lay a single note written in elegant handwriting. The Eagle has taken his prize. If you want them back alive, come alone to the old tower at midnight. Tell anyone else, and they die. It was signed with a symbol, an eagle with spread wings. Edward fell to his knees, the note trembling in his hands. James's world shattered. He had failed. The family he swore to protect was gone. And Lord Pemberton, the Eagle, had taken them. 11:45 at night. 15 minutes until midnight. James Morrison stood outside the old tower wearing no weapons, no radio, no protection. That was what the note demanded. Come alone, unarmed. But James wasn't really alone. Hidden in the shadows around the tower, 20 elite guards waited. Captain Reynolds had positioned them carefully. Lord Pemberton couldn't see them from inside. The moment James gave the signal, they would storm the tower. Prince Edward had wanted to come instead of James. She's my wife. He's my son. I should be the one to face this monster. But King George had forbidden it. You're the heir to the throne. We can't risk you two. Guard Morrison knows what he's doing. James wasn't so sure about that. His hands trembled as he approached the tower door. Inside that ancient building, a man he had trusted for years held two innocent people hostage. A man who had fooled everyone. The tower door creaked open. James stepped inside. The old tower had been built 300 years ago. It was used for storage now. Dusty furniture, old paintings, forgotten treasures from past kings and queens. A circular stone staircase led upward into darkness. Guard Morrison. Lord Pemberton's voice echoed from above. I'm impressed. You actually came alone. Where are they? James called up. Where's Princess Catherine and Prince Thomas? Come upstairs. Let's talk face to face. James climbed the stairs slowly. Each step felt heavy. At the top, a single room opened before him. Moonlight streamed through narrow windows. Lord Pemberton stood near the far window. He looked the same as always. Silver hair, perfect uniform, calm expression. But now James saw the coldness in his eyes. The calculation. Princess Catherine sat in a chair, her hands bound. Prince Thomas was in her lap, crying softly. Both looked terrified but unharmed. Let them go, James said. This is between us. Pemberton laughed. Between us? No, Guard Morrison. This was never about you. This is about power, control, the future of this kingdom. You betrayed everyone who trusted you. For what? Money? Money? Pemberton shook his head. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. This was about something bigger. The organization I work for, we don't just want money. We want control, who rules nations. And this family stood in our way. So you married Margaret to the king. You planted people throughout the palace. You tried to kidnap Prince Thomas. Not tried. Succeeded. Pemberton gestured to Child. And now I have what my employers wanted. A future king. Raised by us. Taught by us. Controlled by us. Catherine held Thomas tighter. You won't touch him. I won't let you. You have no choice, Your Highness. Pemberton pulled out a gun. Here's what happens now. I take the boy. You stay here. If anyone tries to follow me, I start shooting. Simple. James raised his hands. Wait. Just wait. Let's think about this. There's nothing to think about. Yes, there is. James took a slow step forward. You've been planning this for years. You've been patient, careful, but now you're rushing, making mistakes. Why? Pemberton's eye twitched. I'm not making mistakes. You are. You left that note. You brought them to this tower. You're showing yourself. That's not like you. The Lord Pemberton, I knew would have disappeared without a trace. Times change. Plans change. No. James took another step. You're scared. Margaret and her team got caught. Your whole network is falling apart. And you know we're getting closer to finding your employers. So now you're desperate. I said stop moving. Pemberton aimed the gun at James. But James kept walking forward. Slow. Steady. You won't shoot me. If you do, those guards outside will storm this tower in seconds. You'll never escape. What guards? You came alone. Did I? James smiled slightly. You taught me everything I know about security, Lord Pemberton. Do you really think I'd be that stupid? For the first time, Pemberton looked uncertain. His eyes darted to windows. That 1 second of distraction was all James needed. He lunged forward, grabbing Pemberton's gun hand. They struggled. The gun fired, the bullet hitting the stone wall. Pemberton was strong, but James was younger, faster. Catherine screamed. Thomas, close your eyes. James twisted Pemberton's wrist hard. The gun clattered to the floor. Pemberton threw a punch, connecting with James's jaw. Pain exploded through his face, but James didn't let go. They crashed into old furniture. With splintered, Pemberton grabbed a piece of broken wood, swinging it at James's head. James ducked, then tackled Pemberton to the ground. Now! James shouted. The tower door burst open. Guards flooded up the stairs. Within seconds, they had Pemberton pinned to the floor, his hands cuffed behind his back. Captain Reynolds rushed to Catherine, cutting the ropes around her wrists. Are you hurt, Your Highness? No. We're okay. We're okay. Catherine hugged Thomas so tightly the boy squeaked. Pemberton laughed bitterly from the floor. This changes nothing. My organization still exists. We have people everywhere. You won one battle, but the war continues. James knelt down beside him. Maybe, but tonight you lost, and we saved this family. That's enough for me. Guards led Pemberton away. His proud posture was gone. He looked like what he really was, a criminal, a traitor. James helped Catherine stand. Let me take you to Prince Edward. He's been worried sick. Thank you, James. You saved our lives tonight. Prince Thomas looked up at James with wide eyes. You're a real hero, like in the stories. James smiled, despite the pain in his jaw. No, Your Highness. Your mother is the real hero. She stayed brave when she was scared. That's what real courage is. They walked down the tower stairs together. Outside, Prince Edward was waiting. When he saw his wife and son, he ran to them, pulling them both into his arms. All three of them cried, tears of relief, of joy, of love. King George arrived moments later. The old king hugged his grandson gently. You're safe now. You're all safe. As dawn broke over the palace, James stood watching the royal family together, bruised, exhausted, but alive. Together, Captain Reynolds approached. The tech team found Pemberton's computer files, names, locations, bank accounts. We can dismantle this entire organization. Good, James said. Let's make sure no family ever has to go through this again. 3 weeks later, James received a commendation from the king himself, a medal for bravery. But the real reward came when Prince Thomas ran up to him in the palace gardens, laughing and playing without fear. Guard Morrison, watch me climb this tree. Catherine smiled from a nearby bench. He feels safe again. Because of you. James watched the little prince climb, his golden curls bouncing with each movement. This was what he had sworn to protect. Not crowns or thrones or power, but this, a child's laughter, a family's love, a mother's peace of mind. It's my honor, Your Highness, James said softly. Always. The old tower stood silent in the distance, empty now, a reminder of the darkness that had threatened them. But in the garden, sunlight sparkled on flowers, birds sang in the trees, and a young prince played without fear. The storm had passed. The family was safe, and Guard James Morrison would stand watch, keeping his oath for as long as they needed him. The end.